Hello and welcome. This presentation was created as part of my preparation for the Advanced Sommelier examination. I hope you can find useful information in here, and please feel free to post any comments you may have in the comments section. In this video, we will talk about Switzerland, so let's begin. I would like to start by showing the sources I used to gather this information. These are some of my favorite wine books, and I strongly suggest using them for any research. Switzerland is a melting pot of different cultures, with 4 official languages: German, French, Italian, and Romansh. There are several ways viticulture may have started, from Marseille, then up the Rhone River to Geneva, up the Rhone River through the Doubs Valley to the Jura Mountains, then to Trois-Lacs and Vaud, from Lombardy to Ticino, and from Val d'Aosta to Valais. There is also evidence of winemaking before the Roman era as well, as early as 800 to 600 BC. Later, Cistercian monks also heavily influenced the area, especially in Vaud. And as with the rest of Europe, phylloxera also affected the Swiss, but possibly more so than any other country, decimating about 60% of plantings, from 85,000 to 30,000 acres. The Swiss are also avid consumers, in comparison to the United States, at an average of 13 gallons per capita per year, while the US sits at 2.4, 2.5 gallons per capita per year. It should come at no surprise, then, that it is very difficult to find Swiss wine outside Switzerland, and only about 1% of national production is exported. 65% of the wines consumed in Switzerland is imported, and national production supplies roughly 35% of domestic needs, which in turn helps to drive prices up. Switzerland is situated between the 46th and 47th parallel, which is in line with Burgundy and Portland. There are 6 distinct wine-growing regions throughout 26 cantons: Geneva, Vaud, and Valais, influenced by Lac Léman, or Lake Geneva, and the Rhone River; Ticino, Deutschschweiz, or German Switzerland; and Trois-Lacs, or Three Lakes, moderated by lakes Neuchâtel, Bienne, and Morat. Let's look into each of these wine-growing regions, departing from Geneva, moving up the Rhone River, then counterclockwise through the country. Geneva is the southernmost portion of the Rhone River before exiting Switzerland into France. Here we find the co-op Cave de Genève, which is the main ambassador for Geneva's wine renaissance. Geneva is the 3rd largest wine-producing canton in Switzerland, and the Rhone River is the main climate moderator, along with Lake Geneva. Historically, Geneva's winemaking past has been plagued by high yields and sugar addition. But innovations in winemaking brought by the use of indigenous varieties greatly helped improve the region's image in the market. Due to the relatively flat geographical aspect, this area is able to be highly mechanized in the agricultural process. There are very low climate risks, and the soils are rich in lime, clay, and gravel. Vaud is the traditional haunt of Swiss wine and was started by Cistercian monks well over 900 years ago with 3 main areas: La Côte, home to Salvagnan, a Pinot Noir Gamay red blend; Lavaux, with 2 Grand Cru appellations, Des Allies and Calaman; and home to the Lavaux terraces built by the Cistercian monks in the 11th century and recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2007. And Chablais, known for refined chasselas. Lac Léman, or Lake Geneva, is the main climate moderator, and the fruit here is less concentrated than in Valais. Chasselas is the main grape here, and it is usually named after the appellations, such as in Désailly and Calama. The entire area is rich in alluvial soils, but Lavaux is influenced by tectonic plates exposing strata, and Chablais is rich in lime, magnesium, and gypsum, composing a very rocky and rubbly landscape. Valais, the largest wine-producing canton, is hot and dry, producing concentrated ripe wines. Sion, a city located in the heart of Valais, is one of Switzerland's driest cities, seeing about 24 inches of rain annually, which is the same as Colmar in Alsace, and irrigation here has been common practice since the Middle Ages. Valais is home to both the world's smallest and Europe's highest altitude vineyards. Visperterminen vineyard in Visp is Europe's highest altitude vineyard at 1,100 meters or 3,600 feet, and Vigne à Farinet, or Les Amis de Farinet, is the world's smallest vineyard in Seyon, owned by the Dalai Lama with 3 vines. Valais has the closest vineyards to the source of the Rhone River. Also, about 220,000 growers for roughly 12,000 acres. Nearly 20% of the grapes grown here are processed at a co-op, the Provence Co-op. Fondant is the main white wine made with chasselas, and Dole is the main red wine made with Pinot Noir and Gamay. And also, it is home to Vin du Glacier, a Solera method sweet wine from Val de Nivière. The soil composition is very diverse. The lower Valais near Chablais is poor in lime. Valais Central is rich in volcanic soils, all the way up to Sion, where it is rich in slate. And the upper Valais is poor in clay and rich in lime. Ticino is red wine country. This region produces Merlot and Bondola, with Merlot accounting for nearly 90% of plantings. The grapes came from Bordeaux and substituted American hybrids from earlier cultivation. Then winemakers from eastern Switzerland introduced the Bordeaux model in greater detail. Now the wines are made in a Pomerol style, and quality increased significantly. Bondola is the local red grape, and white wines are made from Merlot as well. About 25% of Merlot grapes are vinified white. Lake Lugano is the major climate moderator, and Ticino has the highest rainfall in the country with sandy alluvial soils. Deutschschweiz, German Switzerland, or Ostschweiz, Eastern Switzerland, is comprised of 17 wine-growing cantons with 17th century plantings of Pinot Noir, or Blauburgunder, as it is known locally, and amounts to 17% of total national wine production. Pinot Noir is the main red grape, and Müller-Thurgau is the main white grape, with the best examples coming from Aargau, Thurgau, Zurich, and Schaffhausen. There's also an association of young Swiss winemakers that work as the main diffuser of the region, predominantly where Pinot Gris and Pinot Blanc thrive, such as in Aargau, Thurgau, Zurich, and Graubünden. In Graubünden, we also encounter a very popular local variety called completa. The soil here is varied, much like the Loire Valley, as it is an extensive land area. Trois Lacs, or the Three Lakes region, is moderated by the lakes Neuchâtel, Bienne, and Morat. Neuchâtel is the main wine growing area, producing predominantly Pinot Noir, made in the style of the Cotonouille, and Chasselas. Oeil de Perdrix is a rosé made with Pinot Noir, while Blanc and Sparkling are also available. Non-filtré Chasselas is a local specialty and is released on the third Wednesday in January after the harvest. Lake Bienne produces Pinot Noir and Chasselas with a fuller profile, and Lake Morat produces robust Pinot Noir and soft Chasselas, more similar to Vaux. Vouilly is the most important village in Morat, producing Traminer, Pinot Gris, Freisame, or Freiburger, which is a crossing of Sylvaner and Rolander. Soils here are rich in lime. Switzerland enjoys an alpine climate, with much of its territory above the tree line. The Alps are the main influence in the region, creating rain shadow, steep vineyards, 90% or 39 degrees inclination, and wind tunnels. The Faun is one of these wind tunnels formed by rain shadow effects. Cool, moist air approaches a mountain, forming clouds. Precipitation then results in moisture loss, as in snow or rain, and heat gain as the air ascends. Alternatively, dry air sourced from higher up plunges down the lee slopes, becoming warm as it descends. Turbulence over the mountain transports heat into and moisture out of the low-level winds. The dry, cloudless lee side conditions lead to further warming via solar radiation, and finally creating the warm, dry winds known as Faun. Located at the northern portion of Valais is the Saint Gothard Massif, the source of both Rhone and Rhine rivers, where the Rhine flows north and the Rhone flows south. In general, Switzerland is very similar to Champagne, with average growing temperature of 58 Fahrenheit and average rainfall of about 24 inches per year. And harvest also happens in September. Back to Geneva, Gamay is king, with nearly 24% of plantings, followed by Perlin, the local name for Chasselas, at close to 21%, and Pinot Noir at 11%. In Vaud, Chasselas reigns unopposed at 60% of the land under vine. Des Alliés produces smoky styles of wine, while Calaman comes in a little more flinty. Salvagnan, similarly to Dole in Valais, is a red blend of Pinot Noir and Gamay. Pinot Noir amounts to 13% of plantings. Valais is special in many ways, not the least the fact that it hosts an awesome number of indigenous grapes. Pinot Noir here clocks in at an almost 30%. Dole, the most popular red wine, must be made with at least 51% Pinot Noir and or Gamay added to the 51%, and can be found in red, white, or rosé. Chasselas, used to make a wine called fondant, accounts for 17% of vines. Other vines of interest are Reze, used to make vin du glacier. There is Fleutry, a sweet raisinated wine made with Malvoisie, aka Pinot Gris, Johannisberg, aka Sylvaner, Arvigne or Petite Arvigne, which is the most successful native variety. Hermitage, how Marsanne is known locally, and Amigne. Finally, you have Payen or Haida, which is Savagnin Blanc or Traminer. In Ticino, as mentioned previously, Merlot takes the largest piece of the pie at 90% of plantings, making red, white, and rosé. Bondola is the local red variety. Deutschschweiz, or Eastern Switzerland, is a strong producer of Blauburgunder, the local name for Pinot Noir, where Aargau, Thurgau, Zurich, and Schaffhausen put out the highest quality examples. Completa makes a high alcohol, high acidity wine, chiefly in Graubünden. Rauchling, almost completely vanished, can be found around Lake Zurich, and what is known as PV grapes, Pilze widerstandsfähige Rebsorten. It's a disease-resistant hybrid, such as Regent and Solaris. Other native varieties include Gamaret and Granois, which Granois is the fourth most planted red grape in Switzerland. These two mainly found in Geneva, and both our crossings are of Gamay and Reichensteiner. Dioli Noir in Ticino, and Carmi Noir, a Pinot Noir Cabernet Sauvignon crossing found in the Valais. After phylloxera, the country saw a slow rebound and currently holds around 37,000 acres under vine. 80% of the wines produced come from the French-speaking regions, and the largest producers are Valais, Vaud, and Geneva. Switzerland has some of the highest vineyards in Europe, and steep vineyards make soil erosion a main concern. Thus, cover crops are widely popular. Flatter regions such as Geneva enjoy more mechanization, while terraces built by Cistercian monks help ripen grapes through direct sunshine, reflection from the lake, and heat radiated from stony terraces. As in line with other vineyards in the northern hemisphere, vines are planted facing south for best sun exposure. A wide variety of training methods is employed: cordon, gobelet, guillot, and tendon in Ticino. There is also a specialty trellising system in Deutschschweiz called taille à l'anglais, designed to protect against spring frost. Monorail and sometimes helicopters are used to transport materials up and down the vineyards. There are local and national yield restrictions, and in some cases, certain cantons can be more strict than others. Malolactic conversion dropped after the introduction of the AOC system in 1993, but it is still common. There is a great amount of wines produced in co-ops and by negociants. Chaptalization is allowed and common practice, but in decline as local consumption favors lighter, drier styles of wine. Destemming is the norm. Carbonic maceration can be found in Ostschweiz or Eastern Switzerland. Barrel maturation has been increasing in popularity for red wines, and there are several rosé offerings, such as Dole Blanche in Valais, made with Pinot Noir Gamay, Oeil de Perdrix in Neuchâtel, made with Gamay, and Weissherbst and Schillerwein in Ostschweiz, made with red and white wine blend. Switzerland has no national wine legislation. The Foodstuffs Act of 1909 regulates the basics as it regards to the protection of consumer health. Wine growing policy is mainly a matter for the 26 cantons. In the 90s, Several cantons decided on AOC statutes, but due to many political concessions, several wine growers of high standing decided to protest by labeling their wines as vin de table. Chaptalization is allowed, and wines are to have alcohol boosted only up to 3% through the process. Swiss Wine Promotion is the national marketing body, and their webpage, which was included in the beginning of this presentation, is a great resource to learn more about the wines and regulations that each canton may have. Geneva was the first AOC established in 1988, and in 2022, Switzerland is to align with EU regulations. Currently, you can find both 700 and 750 milliliter bottles in the Swiss market, which makes unification a little tricky. In Ticino, wines labeled Viti are 100% Merlot and passed a tasting panel, much like DOCG in Italy. And finally, here are some of the major producers you may be able to find in the international markets. How about you? Have you ever visited Switzerland? Have you ever had any Swiss wine? What is your favorite Swiss wine? I love to keep this conversation going. So leave your comment below and I'll be glad to see what you have to share. I know this was a long presentation, so I thank you for sticking around and I hope this was useful to you in any way. If you would like to see more of these presentations, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Instagram. I am hoping to publish one video every week, so stay tuned for more content.